We are not a spent force. We have all the potential to spread out and envelop the whole Muslim world if people are told what we really believe. So they are afraid. If you are afraid of something, then you take your weapons against that thing. If you are not afraid of a thing, you don't go on crushing that thing under your feet. You are afraid of those powers on earth which are capable of getting you, overpowering you. So the strength of the message of Islam is such that all the non-Muslim world knows that if a religion has the potential and capability of conquering the entire non-Muslim world, that is Islam. While Judaism and Hinduism and all these isms, they do not have that potential. They are original traditions, in fact. They are not religions anymore. They are, a majority among them is atheist. Most of the Jewish people you meet, the educated Jewish people, and you put this question to them, they would admit they are atheists. Yet they are Jews because religion has become a tradition. And so it has become in Hinduism. They don't bother about their differences, internal differences, and there are many, far, far greater than the Muslim sects have between them. Yet they all reconcile with each other, live in harmony, because it is more like a nationality now than a religion. And nationalities don't spread. So Judaism has become a nationality. Religions spread, and only those which are charged, fully vibrant, which are powerful enough to spill over the borders. And that is Islam, and that is Ahmadiyya. So ultimately it's one and the same thing. Yes, please.
Hazur, I put that question on the paper on 1st of September.
1st of September?
Yes. And it is still pending because Sayyid Sahib has asked, and this is relevant to that. That's why I want to ask you.
Sayyid Sahib requested you to wait until he had asked his question and then you would put it. Is that what I am?
No, this is not the fact. The fact is that I had a question prepared on 1st, which was still pending in my papers. I could not get the opportunity to ask that. Now the subject has come in.
Now it reminds you.
Yes.
Yes, please come. Yes, go to the microphone. Yes, please. All these are questions in your hand?
No, some are, but all. Hazur, Assalamu alaikum. Hazur, this concerns two sects of Shia Muslims. One believes in Hazar Imam and the other believes in Imam Qaid. What do they actually mean by this?
Not only one, there are other divisions as well within that. Some believe in 6 Imams, some believe in 12 Imams, and some believe that Imam is Hazir, not Qaid, but he is the Imam, and the other believes no, not he, the other one is. So there are differences, 4 major divisions, and then further subdivisions, so many among the Shiites as well. Those who are extravagant in their beliefs about Hazrat Ali, those who are less extravagant, and again, they have about 34 divisions, the Shiites have. As far as the question of Imamat is concerned, it is said that let's start from the Al-Khanis. There were 2 brothers, Musa Qasim and Ismail. Ismail was the elder one, as I understand, as I remember. And Ismail was the other one, and Musa Kazim was, no, I don't remember exactly, but one of them, let's say, was the elder, and he was to inherit his father, who I think was Imam Baqir. Was Imam Baqir the sixth Imam?
Yes.
That's right. So Hazrat Imam Baqir was the sixth Imam. The imamat, according to them, was to be inherited by the elder son. So either of the two, one of the two was the elder son, whichever was, he was to inherit. But Hazrat Imam Baqir was told that this boy has some drawbacks and some faults in character. He is of questionable habits. So he disinherited him and gave the imamat to the second son instead of the first one. Then what happened was, according to those who believe in the first and not the second, if the first one was Mr. Ismail, then the Ismailis believe that before his death, he reinstated Ismail and took the imamat back from Musa Kazim. So because he was restored, so he had the right. The other sect says, no, even if it was restored, Imam Baqir had no right to do that. As far as we go, Imam cannot commit a mistake. They believe that Imam is non-erring, like a prophet. So they say that once a decision was made, it cannot be altered. And if it is altered, then it is proved that the first decision was wrong. And if the first decision was not wrong, then the second decision must be wrong. The decision must be wrong. So in view of this belief that an imam cannot err, the second sect says that obviously this is wrong. It must have been misreported. To their belief that you agree that once the imamat was shifted, and we also agree that is acceptable. But its reshifting must be a misreporting because imam cannot make a mistake. So they still believe in the second one. So there are two divisions at the sixth juncture. So, but later on, those who believe that imamat continued, some of them followed one of the two again. They also had a setback at the 12th Imam. 12th Imam was killed in some battle. Now a further division took place among those. Some believe that the 12th Imam had disappeared and he would come again. And some believe that the 12th Imam had not disappeared and his imamat was inherited by some and it continues. So those who believe that he disappeared, they argue that because during the lifetime of an imam, no one else can inherit. So the imamat has come to a stay there. A stalemate has developed. As long as the imam is living somewhere, some believe in the heaven and some believe that there is a ghar called Antakya. The imam is in Ghar Antakya. So he hid himself there and would reappear one day. So those who believe in his absence could not believe in the inheritance of imam by his children or by any near relative. So again a division